Dillon Warnek, thanks so much for being a part of the Working Songwriter podcast. We've known each other for a while. I think we met almost 10 years ago when you were playing with Courtney. I think we played together at the Tractor. When did we first meet? Do you remember?
When was that? It has been about 10 years though, hadn't it?
Yeah, man. And you are originally from the Pacific Northwest. You live in Nashville now, but you're from out there originally, right?
I am, yeah. I went to Monroe High School outside of 45 minutes outside of Seattle.
Okay, right on. So growing up, was it like, obviously, from what I know with you, you've always been played kind of like roots music and singer-songwriter music, but you would have been young when the grunge thing, maybe you were too young for the grunge thing when that was happening out there
Yeah,
too.
I was just past it. I remember though Nirvana Unplugged was in the car a lot, but I think it was more Modest Mouse.
Oh, right.
It was my mom went to high school with that dude, and there was family was big fans of Modest Mouse, and so that was like a post grunge thing.
Yeah, that was kind of like a second wave. That's when there was like a 20-year period where everyone would use the word indie rock. That's not really used anymore, and it wasn't used, during the grunge era, but there was like that 20-year period that they epitomized.
Yeah, exactly.
So were you into that, or were you more into like kind of roots music stuff growing up?
Um, I was into it. I liked Nirvana. All the stuff I liked then, I like now. Loved Modest Mouse, loved Nirvana, and then yeah, it was that Bob Dylan, the first record of his of all records, and I hated it when I first heard it, but that's what really kind of with the way he sang "House of the Rising Sun" when I was 14, and it's not even that great of a record. Even he would say he could probably perform. You can hear he's nervous, but just something about the way that he rose his voice and got big, and the feeling I had all of a sudden, I wanted to do that to other people.
You mentioned you didn't even like it at first. Some of my biggest cornerstone records are ones that I actively disliked when I first heard them. What do you think that is?
I think art is a non-consensual act, right? I mean, at least for me, all the stuff I like, it breaks through because when it hits, it's gonna alter your life, and so you have a defense up on it, and art, like the things you like, will force their way in, and so it's kind of a non-consensual act in a way. It's like how like almost like laughter or something, where it's this uncontrollable thing, and all the things I loved the most, I hated at first.
Yeah, I'm thinking particularly of the first time I heard "Time the Revelator," and Dave Rollins' guitar when he comes in to start that song. It's like it's dissonant, and to me it was like,
Sure.
why would they keep this take? It's like out of tune or something like that.
Well, right.
Yeah,
I
and then it came to be, one of my favorite records of all time.
Yeah, I think above all else, we seek to dismiss. That's where it's easy. Like, okay, I've got this figured out, I can dismiss it. And the
Right.
things that I hated, I I didn't know why I hated it, and I sought that reason, that permission to dismiss it, and so I would dive further. Like, what's this Tom Waits cookie sounding guy? Like, okay, I'm gonna go to the next song, and then I'd be even more confused, and then almost like a Norm Macdonald joke or something. Like at the end, it's like, oh, they were in control the whole time,
Right. Ah,
you
yeah.
know, and you never get that permission to dismiss.
Yeah. Tom Waits is a great example there. I remember the first time I heard I hated Bone Machine the first time I
Right,
ever heard it.
right. Because
Hated it.
I mean, my God, it sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
and where's your in on it?
yeah. And that's actually a really good example because even it's not only his writing and his performance, but like all those Chad Blake mixes from back in the day, like he was mixing in a way, like it was sonically very challenging as well.
Yeah,
And
that's the
then
one they might have made in the chicken coop or something, whatever, at that Prairie Sun or the boiler room or so. I don't know. Who knows?
wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. but yeah,
Yeah.
and then Chad Blake, becomes like the most sought after mixer. I think it's $10,000 a song to get him to mix something out there in Wales. But
Right.
I like that idea of the non-consensual act. But at like, oh man, that was
That's
a.
a brutal. We should just clip that.
I think we
That
need to
just
clip that because
we'll just
I
clip
like the
that
idea
line.
of art being a
There we go.
non-consensual act. But that also infers that you need to be open to changing your mind on it too. And I know that there's been points in my life where I haven't been, and I think I think some listeners just aren't open to that, and I don't think you want those people in your audience who aren't open to that. You know?
Well, right. And sometimes it's not even that they're open to it. I've often said to musician friends, the bar I love to be at in town doesn't have music, and if I saw myself setting up to play in there, and you and I were catching up, I'd be like, "Hey, buddy, let's go somewhere else right
Yeah,
now." Like, because I want to catch up with my buddy Joe. I don't want to hear, I have the worst entertainment product on planet Earth. I certainly don't want to hear that, but I don't want to hear anything. I'm talking to my friend right now. I'm doing
yep.
this, I'm doing that. And you're never going to win that because we've all done the brewery shows, growing up, or just where you're just thrown to the wolves. And, the small victory when someone comes up at the end of the 3.5 hours and said they like it. But, most of the people in that room, yeah, you're not going to win.
There's
Although
nothing.
you may have won more than most.
No,
Actually, no, never mind.
no. Some of those things. There's nothing more painful than a musician not understanding that because you can play the brewery gig where you're getting paid. Maybe it's a good paycheck and you can play in the background. There's nothing more painful than when a musician gets up for one of those and tries to like cow the audience into like, there's some art going on here, guys.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry. It's like,
It's
nah,
my
man.
grandma's 85th birthday. What do you want from me,
Yeah.
dude? Like, holy cow, we got her out of the home. It's incredible.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
how do
there's a
you,
big
yeah,
difference. You can now if you're playing the listening room and there's one guy that's drunk at the bar
yes,
that's ruining it for everybody. Yes, you can shut him down. But for the most
yeah.
part, man, if it's Saturday night and you're out and people maybe didn't know music was going to be there or they don't know who you are, you got to kind of know your role at that point.
Totally. It's, it's a good metric too, where I think oftentimes in music, we forget that it's entertainment.
Yes. Yeah, man. I don't
And
forget that,
that's,
man. I keep that top of mind, man.
well, and
Always
because
top of mind.
you're an incredible performer. And, and, because I have that whole rule in everything where like respect the audience's time,
Yes.
and a
Yes.
lot of people, don't don't get that. Where the kind of one of the things I try to have with my music is like you can like it or not. That's perfectly fine. Whatever I'm saying or doing may not be for you, but I promise I won't waste your time.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? But there's a limit to that where the entertainment that I can provide, it's not going to be good at your quinceañera.
Right.
It'd be awful. I ruined the quinceañera. But there's got to be some entertainment to whatever you're doing. You can't just
There,
invite people to stare.
yeah, I think that there's a real disconnect there where people really feel like they want to make bedroom records, and that's fine. I think you should make a bedroom record. That's great. Like, this is just
Yeah.
for me. This is my diary. That's totally fine. 100% fine. But then where it becomes not fine is where they want to make a bedroom record, but then they want to go to the brewery and just kind of like meekly play it and then have people
Right.
like fall all over them like the Radiohead. One of my favorite quotes of all time, I think I've told it on the podcast before, but it's 50 Cent of all people. He said something like, "You made a bedroom record? Cool. Keep that shit in your bedroom."
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That's not even the most interesting thing that can come out of your bedroom.
Well, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I think it's just I'm constantly trying to make sure that I'm not asking something unfair of my audience, and
Yes.
in just the secret contract I have, like I promise not to waste their time. And even, if I perform solo, I play a piano and then I'll go to guitar just because the ear can get like, man, you've been in the room with four songwriters from acoustics, and man, they could be the best songs in the world, but the ear just gets tired of that sound after a while. And so I even try and switch it up instrumentation wise, and just do everything I can to at least respect their time.
That's such a thing, man. I've actually started doing evening withs a little bit more because it's so hard, especially if you're not playing with a band. It's so hard for an audience to hear an opener that they've never heard before for 45 minutes, and then the headliner comes on for 75 to 90. It's a lot of acoustic guitar, man. It's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And people just they have a threshold for it. You're talking about respecting the audience, and one of the things I have for that to kind of divine whether I'm respecting them or not is being very sensitive to whether it's the song that I'm writing or the show that I'm putting on. Am I bored by it? Am I bored while I'm writing the song? Am I bored listening back to my own mixbacks? You know what I mean? Like, because if I'm bored by it, how could I possibly ever expect anyone to be interested in it? You know?
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the things you do. So, I mean, I think, uh, what are you trying to say? What are you even trying to do with this song? And I don't want to give the impression that I tend to really think about that stuff. It's fine to not think about that stuff,
Mhm.
but it's not a bad way to evaluate your work. Like, are you even enjoying this, or is this just a song because you needed another song? Like, what is this? What are you saying here?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's huge, and that's a crushing thing. I remember the stuff I wrote when I was young is terrible, and I mean, it just was, and because I was trying to be anybody but myself, and I don't even know what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Well, take me to there because you mentioned, you hear that first Dylan record, you don't like it at first, then it really kind of changes you, brings something out in you, and then you begin your artistic life. And, you said that you were working there and the stuff was terrible when you began. So, how did you start working your way into music and to songwriting? How did you kind of fumble your way into it at first?
Well, it kind of went back where, even no matter as bad as I was, I knew, um that feeling I got from that House of the Rising Sun, that feeling that I didn't know a song could make you do that. And I was in awe of the power that it held. And I became immediately fascinated in attempting to do that. I just, the problem with identifying as a writer is, well, if you don't write good work, then you're a bad writer. And now
Right.
your whole, you know what I mean?
Well,
And
and now you're a bad person. You know what I
right,
mean? Right.
yeah, right.
Right.
And so when I was young, I just had so much identity wrapped up in it that it kind of hindered me for a while. I mean, I spent years as a guitar player just because I was scared to write. Because what if I find out I'm just a bad writer?
Right. Right.
And and then the things I did write, it was only when I ran out of people to be, and the only person I had left was myself, that it was like, oh, that's your voice, you idiot.
Mm.
I mean, and so having, like, identifying with it and all of that stuff kind of stood in the way of actually, saying what I meant to say.
Yeah, it's when I first heard the songs that you were writing, I was really struck by how much it was you because I think we both have met people who are like very engaging in person. They have like a huge personality. Maybe they're wry, maybe whatever it is, and then they're like, listen to these songs that I've written, and the songs are like the most neutered. They've taken every part of their personality and made sure that it's not put into it. And I was really struck by the first songs of yours that I heard. It was immediately like, man, for better or for worse, man, that's Dylan right there. You know what I mean? Like that's very
Right.
much. And so, what do you think it was that you were able to so quickly step into that? I'm not going to use the word authentic. That's not quite it. Like it, you were able to immediately put your personality into your work once you began seriously writing as an adult.
I think what it was is, like I said, I spent a few years as a guitar player, but I never meant to be a guitar player. I wasn't even all that good at it. I just sort of fell into it. But it allowed me to kind of stay around music. And, and then I knew I didn't want to do that anymore. And then when I moved to Nashville, I was out of a long relationship, and it was sort of like everything was just kind of gone. And then it was me alone in a room wondering what the hell. I mean, and there was nothing left to say or feel other than how I said or felt. There was no talking my way out of it. There was no trying to pretend anymore. And then all of a sudden the songs became things I understood and was interested. And I wrote a lot of characters. It's not like I wrote my feelings. I mean, I think if you pause the screen, I'm probably I get a background actor credit in most of the songs. I'm there somewhere, but it was just situations and things that I became interested in, and a lot of that identity and a lot of that. I mean, it really was just yeah. I don't know. I wish I could explain it because you probably have writer and. I'm not trying to make it. I mean, it's an ever evolving thing, but I'm sure you have writer friends you love and you wish you could just shake them and get them to like you have such a distinct voice.
Yes.
Why where does it disappear? Like how does it not translate to the page?
Yes. Yeah, I know. I see it. I see it more often than not. It's I think it's a little bit of like trying to be cool, man. Like and
Yeah, and I
yeah,
think I had that. Yeah, I mean, like
me
I
too.
did. Like,
We all
like
do.
I wanted to get laid. I wanted to be cool, and I was kind of in a world where people were writing beautiful music,
Hmm.
and like, man, I mean, I have very little like sentiment and reverence mean very little to me, and so I was sort of an alien in this world where everything was beautiful and reverent and that was great, but I could never do that, and so I would be an imitator trying to
Yeah.
pretend.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. There are certain writers who are just touched by God in a way where they're like their voice is just really cool. You know what I mean? And I think we all want to be that. But there's only a few people that have that. And so once, if you don't have that, once you give up on that of like, I'm not really going to be cool. My stuff is going to be like a little bit more on the sleeve. It won't always present me in a great light. As soon as you can give up on
Yeah.
the fact that you're probably not Tom York, it's great. I mean, it's really freeing,
Yeah,
you know?
gosh, and who would want to be him? I don't even think he wants to be him. That's the whole point of his records, right?
Right?
But
Yeah.
but that was where guys like Randy Newman came in and unreliable narrators and like, oh, this guy's a bad guy in this song. And and then unfortunately you're like, well, man, Randy Newman, that is the least sex appeal guy in the world. He's really speaking to me. This might not work out the way I thought.
Right.
And
Right.
but then, all of that stuff where, you have permission and you let it all go. And I was like, I'm kind of nothing's gone my way anyway, so what the hell? I don't even care anymore. And I'm just gonna write the stuff that makes me laugh or the stuff that compelled me. And I mean, it's all kind of gone to hell anyway. What's the worst that could happen? And then I got really lucky by the people that I, was surrounded by in Nashville, and kind of a career happened.
So talk to me about that. What is the Nashville that you found on the ground, and who are some of the folks that were helping you creatively and even career wise?
Well, when I moved to town, I posted up at the same place I'm posted up now, a bar I love called Duke's, and um, like the reason I moved to Nashville was because I'd been in the circus so long, I wasn't even sure if I was going to continue playing music, but if you've been getting shot out of cannons your whole life, you got to be around the bearded ladies,
Yeah.
and so I had to go where the circus was. Um, one of my earliest friends there was my buddy Jamie Davis, who at the time was playing guitar for Margot Price, and I mean, Jamie had heard, and I'd spent months. I didn't even let him know I was writing songs or anything, which is a thing that I admire. When you meet somebody, how long does it take before you find out they write songs? You know, before they let you know. That's like before you find out they play music too, you know. And not in a professional environment or anything, but just when you're hanging out, shooting it at the bar, right? How
Yeah.
quick do they let you know? And I was proud that I made it a few months, and it came around. I was just telling him a story that had happened to me, and he's like, "Man, that should be a song." And I was like, "Well, this one, I mean, it is. I kind of turned it into one. You want to hear it?" And he ended up paying for the first recording sessions
No
and
shit.
yeah,
Really?
and he got Margot's band to back it, and they all became best friends, and Margot and Jeremy became huge champions of my music. I owe them a lot. Jeremy, her husband, is one of my best friends, one of the best writers. Guy, you should get him on this podcast.
Yeah.
Either of them. I mean, they're both fascinating, incredible writers. But yeah, I mean, so what do you even say about that? It just, that, and it was like a Blues Brothers moment where the light comes in. You know, the second we start, the first song we ever recorded became the single off that record. It was called "Good Man," the
Yeah.
song, and it was like the Blues Brothers, the light, like the band. It's a mission from God kind of deal. You know, this is it. Do this.
Yeah. 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 What was it like when you're doing a session like that with a band that's already a band themselves? Um, did you just have to kind of sit back and be like, well, you guys are a band. I got the song here. Take it where you want to take it. Or did you kind of have to step in and kind of direct it yourself? How did you navigate that?
Jamie took quite a bit of direction. I mean, that band, and she has since has a different band, but that band, they were so talented. They all worked in a session environment for years and touring. They were, an excellent road band. Um, and I'm a big believer in like if the song isn't immediately presenting itself, it's not the band's fault, it's not the arrangement's fault, it's the song's fault.
Yes.
And that's still to this day when I make a record with any players, I'm like, I don't want anybody in here to worry if something's not working out, it's the song's fault, it's not your fault. So nobody in here panic.
Couldn't
And
agree more. Couldn't
and
agree more.
yeah, and even when we recorded it, I guess the thing I did the most was that early on, and the fellow we recorded that first session with is an incredible engineer, producer, and player. But I threw a wrench in his gears because I was like, "Hey, man, can we record it live?" And there was an out of tune piano, but it was out of tune perfectly. And and he goes, "Yeah, okay." And it was just one of those magic things. The piano was perfectly out of tune. And he pulled it killed him to do it. He pulled one of the drum mics off the drums, and I'm in the ISO room, and I'm playing and singing live at the same time.
Hmm.
And we play it live, and it worked. And that's when I discovered, like, oh man, all the sounds I love, and the reason I love the sound of bleed, I love the sound of people playing and reacting, and towards the end of that session, I had never been happier with anything ever. And I was listening back to the playback of that song, Good Man. And I was like, this is it. This
Hmm.
is perfect. I mean, it's done. And the engineer, and quite right. And I don't want this to sound like because he's an incredible engineer. You'd be in such good hands working with him. But he turned to me and he said, Dylan, you should really consider retracking the acoustic and the vocals separate so that there's more mix options down the line.
Yeah.
And I went, well, why though? If this sounds great, like if we have it, why do we need to? Why are we? What are we protecting down the line? And that's when I kind of realized a lot of engineers work out of fear for they want to have as many options as possible for as long as possible. And
Well,
I
I
didn't know
think
that going into records.
I think with engineers, it's more of a deal of it's your job as the songwriter or producer of the album to look at like this global thing of how it's going to come out and how it's going to sound. And I think when I've run
Yeah.
into similar
Yeah.
problems with engineers, that's not their job. The global thing of how it's going to sound. Their job and their only job is purely audio fidelity, right? And audio
Right.
fidelity to some degree is important. So I try to be charitable with those guys because it's like, well, yeah, it's your job for the audio fidelity to be 100% good. It's my job to make sure that we don't sacrifice the actual global importance of this record to make sure that audio fidelity is 100% good. So
Yeah.
they're
Joe, that's a great point. You are, that is.
strange comparison here, but it kind of reminds me of like the COVID thing, where it's like, okay, you have the public health establishment being like, our job is to make sure nobody dies of COVID. And it's like, okay, that's great, and that should be your job, but also maybe kids need to go to school, maybe people need to have businesses open. And
Yeah.
so you need someone on top of that being like, well, there needs to be some compromises here. Um, Now, what's bad is when you get an engineer that creates problems with you after they've already been put in their place, where you say, "Yeah, man, that's a great idea, audio fidelity wise, but we're going to go a different direction." Some guys can kind of, or gals can kind of, then start putting a wrench in your whole process.
Well, and
And
and that's true, and I'm speaking to my situation too. I mean, it's good that you brought those points up because what I ended up doing was I went to someone who'd become a friend I'd worked with on a session years ago, Drew Carroll over at a bomb shelter, and from there I found my musical partner as far as creating records, and uh, because there's an interesting thing about you can produce a record and have a collaboration and a push and pull, and the record is greater than the sums of its parts, whatever. But then there's executing a vision, right? And Drew was the exact other half of every, like, he understood the vision and the world these songs were supposed to take place in. And we kind of just developed, we had the ability to just work without speaking, and he's just fearless, and he's willing to record in any way and capture anything and trust his ears when necessary. And because I'll record live to click, where I'm not saying it needs to be
yeah,
live where everything's committed, just however it happens. And because, like, I don't sound that good. I mean, as far as what captures the believability,
yeah, I think that's a really good point that you just made. Like his ability, you basically said like, I'll record live to a click or not to a click or whatever. It really reminds me of, I did carpentry for a long time when I was getting started. You have supported yourself as a carpenter. And one of the things that you learn about that, it's like, yeah, you have your plans for the building, but every job site, the way that it's, the land that it's on is different. If you're doing a remodel, you don't know what you're going to find in the walls. You don't know what the weather's going to be like if you're having to
yeah.
work outside. You don't know if the lumber that's been sitting in the back, it's been really humid, so now every third board is completely, a
Yeah.
dog leg, right? And so with carpentry, what that leads to is every job is completely different, and you don't, no carpenter that you meet is like really committed to like, this is the way that I frame houses, and this is the best way to do it.
Sure.
They're committed to meeting the job as it lays itself out and getting it done. And I think the people who are the best at recording and producing albums, they do it in a very similar way. They're not committed to a particular type of process. They're committed to finishing this process that's in front of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big part of it too is knowing what you sound like, and indecision is a killer. And oh, can I and you find out what words you say funny.
Hmm.
And but if you can accept that's what I sound like, you know the difference between I can get a better take and like, oh God, well, I hope I magically become a better singer. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
knowing what you sound like and being able to commit to it is a huge part of it. You know, and no producer engineer can work you through that. I mean, it's just half the people you see in the studio, they're not even okay with what they sound like.
Yes. Yeah, there is some humility to that of like finishing the take and being like, well, guys, that's about what I sound like. So,
Well, right. I mean, how
for,
did it feel?
yeah,
And that's where trusting like someone in like Drew, because you got to trust somebody. Where it's like, okay, the second I walk through these doors, I can't necessarily be trusted. Drew, you tell me.
right, yeah.
Um,
And so, particularly what you're talking about with Drew right now, that is for this record now that it's all over, the new one, right?
yeah.
Okay,
No,
all
Now
right.
That It's All Over was the first one. The new one is called what's it called? The new record is called As the Strangers, or no, what is it called? As the Neighbors Tried to Sleep.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so but that's the one that you were doing with Drew at Bomb Shelter.
I've done both of them with Drew, yes.
You've done both of them there. You
Yeah.
know, I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier, which is the idea that, like, if you get into the studio, it's not the arrangement, it's not the band if it's not working. Once you hire musicians at a certain level, it is, the song. When you get in and you realize that there's a problem, do you go back and try to rewrite immediately, or do you just ditch the song for that session and move on?
I ditched the song. I've got the nuclear football at all times, and so much so like people like Drew or Jeremy, you know, they've saved songs before where I've been really quick to be like, clearly something's wrong with the song.
Hmm.
Let's scrap it, move on. Because I do a lot of work before it gets into the studio. I spend a lot of time arranging and getting it exactly where I want. And like I try and get it to where like, oh man, I want to put the voice memo out. Nothing can beat this.
Right.
And then I'll go in the studio and demo it, and it's like, man, maybe this is just going to be a solo piano record. I mean, how could anything beat this? And then you play it with the band, and it's like, oh my God. And like that constant level of expectations being surpassed.
Yeah.
And if I don't get that, that's where I start going, something's wrong here.
Oh, I got you. So your kind of barometer there is if my expectations of how this isn't going to sound, if we're not out shooting the voice memo on every single level that we go to, demo, full band, tracking,
Yeah.
if we're not hitting that, then it's just no bueno. We can move on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Because, you know, last thing you want to say is, huh. And, and because that starts like my idea of like what does it mean when I've written a song? Like how does it? I mean, because I spend most of my time writing poorly, but you know, when it's a song, like wow, that's one of my songs. And really, the way I know is because it is a song that is a better song than I am a writer.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, and that's quite frankly, if it's not doing that, and a lot of songs on this last record, when the ideas first came or the little half verse, um, would come, I would go, that might be the best thing I've ever written, and I don't know if I'm good enough to write the rest of it. And I mean, some of them took months of puzzling at it and figuring it out, and so that feeling is one I trust.
I have a kind of a negative barometer. It's equivalent to what you're talking about, but it's kind of like the inverse of it, which is once you get to any point in the project, whether it's a demo or especially if you're tracking for a record, if you're listening back to it over the mains and you or anybody else, as you react to it, your voice modulates up a little bit and you go, it's good. Like
Right?
anytime you hear someone just go, it's good. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah, it's good. That to me
totally.
is the crimson red flag to be like, okay, well, we're cooked on this one, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go on to something that doesn't make our voices modulate up and talk ourselves into.
I mean, that's it. And you know, you would agree. Like those things are right in front of our face everywhere,
They are.
and you can trust them.
Yes.
And and if it's not doing that, like that'll lead me to scrap a song. because I'm not talented enough. Nobody wants to hear me sing. Nobody wants to hear me play. If I'm not doing that, that's my one job. Like it's a one trick pony kind of deal. Like if I'm not doing that, I'd rather hear Chris Stapleton sing a song, Derek
Gotcha.
Trucks play guitar, or Dr. John play piano. What am I doing here if I'm not doing?
Yeah, that's the really naked part of the singer-songwriter thing. And I have this happen to me, happen at shows all the time where it's like I show up and maybe I took a gig for money or something like that. So it's not necessarily people showing up to hear Joe Pug songs, but I'm like, the paycheck's good. I'm going to do
You're
it.
ruining the quinceañera.
You're ruining the quinceanera, but also like you're saying, like I don't have the voice that makes people turn their heads. I don't have the piano playing or the guitar. I don't have the Jason Isbell, ripping my guitar thing that's really impressive. So if I can't get the magic trick of my personality coming across, if I can't get the magic trick of the song coming across, it's really kind of depressing. For
Right.
people, it's like,
Well,
have this guy
yeah.
get this gig. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh man. No, I've bombed before. And I even try. If you look at the first lyrics to all my songs on the record, they're all written in a register meant to be shouted above a bar, first of all. And like the opening lines to every song is the challenge, there's enough dynamite in my pocket to blow you all through the roof. That's the opening line. It's a constant challenge of I'm not asking you to bear with me till we get to the chorus. It's like I'm either gonna hook you and continue hooking you with every line, or I'm wasting your time. But some of those gigs, man, yeah, if you're playing to like Land Rover or some company, yeah, what chance do we got? You
no,
know?
no chance. I think a way that you hook people in big time is you've always let your personal sense of humor come through. And I think that that's one of the biggest differences between singer songwriter stuff now in modern times and let's say 10, 20, 30 years ago is, songs used to be funny on like a pretty regular basis. Even serious songs would be funny in parts of them.
Oh.
How have you? I feel like you've always kind of like naturally let that come through. Is that something that you intend when you're writing a song, or is that just something that comes out as you're going?
Well, yeah, you don't intend it. You just, I mean, if you're writing and it's just sitting right there for the taking, it's like, I mean, ask any of my exes. Like, I am the master of making a joke in the middle of an argument and
Right.
just dying on that hill. And I guess, yeah, I've always struggled with reverence and sentiment, and I've always found too, like, um, going back to the non-consensual thing, like making a person laugh. It's not empathy. It's not. I mean, if the grandma died, that's sad. Anybody could write that, and that's a sad situation. If you can make it funny and you got people laughing at it, now you have broken through barriers, and now they are really actually emotionally open to you.
Yes.
And so I've always found humor to be a more effective vehicle for emotion and stuff to really get a point across.
Yeah. I find that with my kids when they're struggling with stuff like the joke it gets through like my son lost a really close baseball game, 3 or 4 months ago. He's 8 years old, so he's crushed. And I almost forgot as the game is ending how crushing that is at 8 years old. To me, I'm just like, all right,
Sure.
let's go get some
Oh, I got some I
Chick-fil-A.
still can't forget.
Yeah, exactly. But especially at that age, it's their whole world. And I remember pulling him aside. He's inconsolable. And I don't know what it was, but my first instinct was to just go with the joke. So I pulled him aside. I don't like my kids cursing, so I don't try not to curse around them. Certainly don't let
Fair.
them do it. But I just pulled him aside, and I was just like, man, they beat the shit out of you, dude. And like
Uh,
just that joke, like it got through to him in a way that kind of like pulled him out of it. That anyway, that's what I think of when you're talking about with a song, like trying to get through on a deep emotional level. Like sometimes the joke is the portal into that would otherwise not exist.
yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, the thing I would have said if it was my kid, I'd have been like, well, how about basketball? Have you
Yeah,
tried that?
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
You know, this baseball thing's not working out so good.
This is not.
Um, how do
Yeah.
you feel about lacrosse? But no, I have a buddy. He just got stabbed in the neck. He was out jogging. Some psychopath stabbed him in the neck. He
Good God.
lived. Yeah, and I saw him the other day. And what do you even say? You know,
Yeah.
like what do you say? The guy's already running. I mean, what do you like? Holy cow! How do you even defend? And I was so happy to see him upright and walking. And I'm not gonna. It just feels so disingenuine to like, oh my gosh, man! I told him that we were all gonna throw in and buy him a treadmill.
Yeah, right.
You know, this jogging thing is
It's not
I don't
working out.
know, it's a little hot right now. We gotta get you a treadmill, man. And and I don't, you know, and with that, being able to laugh about the situation, now we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And so, and
Yeah.
I just feel that way with music too. And it's not funny. It's not, you know, Adam Sandler. It's not supposed to. It's just humor. Um, using humor as a way, and I feel it is underused, and because also you can't really fake humor. You
Yeah.
know,
No, you can't.
you can't, and by nature there too, you can trust a person doing that
Yes.
because you can't fake humor.
You know, it strikes me that one of the ways that you've been able to let your personality and kind of idiosyncrasies come through in your songs in such a nice way is that you, and this is going to be a strange angle for me to take here, but you have a trade that is not music. Like you've always been able to, when you've needed to, support yourself by building houses. I think that's such a huge thing. I did it when I was starting out. Um, Not being completely dependent on music working out at all times in every moment is a very freeing thing artistically. Like I've
Oh man,
always
yeah,
known, like, man, if shit really goes down, I know how to go frame a house. And that it's not going to
right,
pay me, it's not going to pay me $1 million a year, but it's going to get, rent paid, the mortgage paid, groceries in the, like,
sure.
how have you approached that part of your career of like, as you're starting out, you still got to pay rent, man. You still got to, I feel like you've been very canny in the way that you've just never asked music. You've never demanded that music do that for you at all turns.
Yeah, I because I feel like it's my job to provide for my art. It's not my art's job to provide for me. And that said, I feel that if I write what I'm supposed to write, the best version of me will result in that, and it will take care of me. But I don't put that pressure on it. Um, and because I would rather, and it's good for you too. I mean, I would rather wake up at 5:30 and go to work and come home every day and remember sitting down at that piano is a choice, and no one asked me to do this. And if you don't like that job, write a better song. And so I like it in that sense, and especially because, like I said, I was accidentally a guitar player, and I kind of did that, and we've all done it where you take the gigs for the money, and they're not. You're standing on stage with the Chuck E. Cheese band, wondering what the hell am I doing here? Like, one robot breaks down, so you're sitting on bass for a rat in a pizza joint, and and so I was kind of burned out on that. But then also too, my songs, I like following them to where they're to what they're trying to say and what I'm trying to say without worry about, boy, this might really do something here if I make this decision. Because sometimes the thing that's a fascinating choice is like, man, if you go right, you have a hit on your hands, and but willingly going left is part of the song and part of what makes it you know s- makes it the song that it is, because it's, I mean, it's all alchemy, and turning lead into gold is great, but man, the alchemist that can turn gold into lead, it's the same amount of magic, but man, that is magic for magic's sake. You know, you can trust him.
Go. I think it's a beautiful place to leave it. I'm loving all the tunes. I always have. Thank you so much, Dylan, for being on the show.
My brother, a pleasure.